in New Orleans. They call the ride.
Now, I know a lot of you don't like your kids, all right? I get that. You don't want to help them out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But for those of us that do, or your grandkids or whatever, helping them get into a home, and now is probably as good a time as I've seen, and at least according to the profile of home buyers and sellers from the National Association of Realtors, it's time to get with it. It truly is. Let me just review some of these for my pal Steve Aledort and have him comment on them. Steve, first of all, thanks for joining us today. Let me just run through these real quick, and then you can take your own notes and comment. Student debt balances continue to grow. Down payment amounts decrease for first-timers, rise for repeat buyers. Age of first-timer, I found this fascinating. First-time home buyers, average age is 32. Second-time home buyers or repeat buyers, average age is 54, up 2 years from a year ago. So people are getting older and older before they buy a home. I don't know if that's a compelling argument to help the kid or not. I don't know. You've got to make that decision. Supply scarcity leads to increase in buyers paying list price or higher, as I mentioned. Buyers report less difficulty in obtaining a mortgage. That's because of guys like you, Steve. And most buyers search for homes online, but they use a real estate agent. And finally, sellers' use of an agent remains at all-time high, and FSBOs at a record low. Okay, I've given you the laundry list. Your comments.
Okay, well, actually, let's maybe start at the top. So I think the first you were talking about student loans.
That's correct.
All right, so if you own a home, remember we've talked about there's now a special program that if you have enough equity in the house, that we can take those student loans, put them into the new mortgage. In the past, it used to be called a cash out refinance, which would mean you'd pay a higher rate and potentially you would be required to have more equity in your property. With this new program, we're allowed to combine the student loans into the new mortgage, call it a special rate and term refinance so you get a better rate. Plus, we can potentially do a higher loan to value, meaning that if you got a little bit less equity on a cash out, maybe we wouldn't be able to do it, but on this special rate and term that we would. So that's one option. Second option on the student loans, depending upon the amount you have, there are lenders out there like SoFi, I'm just going to give them a plug here, that will potentially allow you to take your student loans and put them into one loan. Is it going to make sense? Maybe for some, maybe not for others.
Are those at reasonable interest rates?
Yeah, I'm guessing that those rates are up maybe 5-6%. Could be higher, could be lower based on your credit score and your profile, but it's certainly worth checking out. So those...
SoFi.
Correct. And there are a few other lenders that are doing it, but they're the ones that are advertising the most. And I'll believe, based on your credit profile, they'll lend up to $100,000.
Wow.
Unsecured, meaning that you don't have to have a house to do business with them.
Fantastic. Okay, let's go on. But that's student debt. There are programs for that.
Correct.
Down payments, let's just very briefly touch on that.
With down payments, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac are at 3%. So you can get in with as low as a 3% down payment. FHA's at 3.5%.
Now, excuse me, is that for a first-time home buyer or is that for any home buyer?
For anybody. For any.
So if I want to help one of my kids or grandkids, they only need 3% down plus other closing costs.
Correct. And in most cases, you can that down payment can be all gift. In the past, especially with Fannie and Freddie, they required the buyers to have a certain percent of the down payment. That's not required now. There are some special programs, I believe, called Home Possible, depending upon the census tract and where the property is located, where you might even be able to do zero down. However, you're going to pay a higher interest rate. So
military, still zero down?
VA loans, you can go with as low as zero down, as long as you don't exceed the maximum loan amount for a VA loan. And that'll vary between areas, but the maximum amount in the high cost areas right now is, I believe, 624 to 636.
So a military man or woman might be really well served right now to go out and buy a house.
Oh God, absolutely. Based on the fact you can do zero down, based on the fact that VA loans and FHA loans, government loans, are priced lower than conventional loans.
And that'll work for everybody except Bo Bergdahl.
Okay.
Supply scarcity leads to increase in buyers paying list price or higher. So when you're doing a mortgage, don't you have to make that loan based on the appraised value?
Correct.
And if the appraised value is $400,000 and you pay $410,000, that's going to mess you up.
That can happen sometimes. Now, appraisers in today's market, because we've seen this, that homes are selling for above list price, are allowed to, because when you're doing appraisal, you've got to pick up anywhere between 3 and 6 comparables that have closed, hopefully within the last 6 months. You can use potential, listings or pending sales. Pending sale meaning that it's gone into escrow, but we don't have the final sales price. But they're also allowed to do what's called time adjustments, which if, let's say, you're a 410 sales price, most of the comps, based on all of the breakdowns the appraiser is supposed to do, is at 400. That time value may allow the appraiser to bring it up to 410. But have I seen purchase transactions where the sales price came in significantly higher than the list price and the appraiser wasn't able to hit that amount? The answer is yes.
And does that mess you up from a
Well, it all
loan?
depends. It all depends depending upon the down payment from the borrower. Because when we're doing a loan, you've got sales price and you've got appraised value. And if the appraisal comes in lower than the sales price, that appraised value is what we have to use to do the calculations for the mortgage loan.
Now it says here, buyers report less difficulty obtaining a mortgage. Are all these mortgage problems that we've had in the past gone now?
Not necessarily. I think that people are getting a little more sophisticated doing what I do. I don't know if I'd necessarily agree with that, but a lot of it depends on the area that you're in. I mean, with areas that people are salaried, W-2, not a lot of self-employed, it's fairly simple on doing a mortgage loan. Fannie Mae has gotten a little bit more aggressive on their debt-to-income ratio. They were pretty well locked at 45%, and in certain scenarios now they've gone up to 50% based on your credit score, based on assets or reserves after closing.
Self-employeds, they write off everything in their brother. It shows their income down. That messes them up 2 ways. One is when they go to sell the business, it really messes up their EBITDA, if you will. And the other thing is it shows their income a lot lower than perhaps they believe it to be, because they're writing off everything.
And that can be an issue when you qualify for a loan.
And I'm assuming the write-offs are all legal.
Oh, of course they're legal. But I've done for years, what I've done is a lot of times I've had a borrower provide me documentation on their tax returns. I let them know, hey, we can't qualify for what you want, but now we're close to the following year, the next year. When you have your tax returns prepared, send me a copy of the final draft before you submit it.
Okay, we're going to take a break. When we come back, DIY. We're going to finish up with doing it yourself, or FSBO, for sale by owner. What are the benefits and pitfalls of that? And then Steve's got a few other tricks up his sleeve, as he always does on this program. You can get a hold of Steve, I should say, at loanfinancialplanner.com or 888-563-1070. I call him the best in the business, and I know a lot of people that do what he does, and nobody does it better. Nobody does it better. Remember that song?
Yeah, I do.
We'll be back.